Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Chris Murray Report on WURD Radio 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always open this show, we got a lot to talk about, okay? And for this first half hour, I'm going to spend some time giving you my take on the Philadelphia 76ers and some other stuff that occurred in sports this week. And by the way, congratulations to the Flyers. They eliminated the Montreal Canadiens in their series. At least one team right now in Philadelphia is winning. The Eagles are in training camp. Miles Sanders is hurt, has a lower leg injury, or a lower body injury of some sort. Jalen Hurts has been looking good, apparently, in training camp. But, we're going to cover a lot of those things. But for the first half hour of this show, and by the way, we're going to have a great show today because I have roller derby legend, Little Richard Brown. Y'all remember, those of you who grew up 1970s watching sports, Saturday mornings you watched a couple of things. You either watched Soul Train, maybe on Channel 17 where you all in Philadelphia grew up. In my case, Channel 45 down in Baltimore, or Channel 20 in D.C. You watched Soul Train in the morning, but you also watched the roller derby. It always came on. I don't know why they did, but because to me, even before, football games and all that other stuff, roller derby was fun. It was like watching wrestling. Today on our show, we have roller derby legend, Little Richard Brown, talk about those days in the 70s roller derby. Sports legend. I mean, guys are legends. Everybody like Little Richard. Judy Arnold, Jim Trotter, Philadelphia Warriors, and the Baltimore Cats. I mean, I think they played for several different teams. I'm going to have him explain how all that worked out. That's going to be fun today. So we're going to have that. I'm going to have we're going to be talking NBA playoffs with one of my correspondents my younger correspondents in the world of sports to talk about the NBA playoffs, the Clippers, Lakers, your 76ers. I'm going to get to them in a minute. I'm ready to get to the Sixers today. We're going to get to the Sixers in one moment. But we're going to talk about NBA playoffs. I'm going to talk to John Mitchell today, the last segment of the show, to talk about the Sixers, break it down, what's going to happen future-wise and all that. But let me begin at the top. I guess I have been slow. I have been admittedly slow to the whole Brett Brown. Let's get rid of Brett Brown. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, let me say that the numbers to call in, if you want to call in to vent your spleen about the Sixers, number to call is 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. If you're calling outside the Delaware Valley, and you want to vent your spleen on the playoffs, the Sixers, even the Flyers, the Phillies. The Phillies got walloped last night. Phillies gave up a 7-run lead early a couple of days ago to the Toronto Blue Jays. Their bullpen is awful, straight up terrible, and I'll talk about that too during this time that I got before I get to my guest. But I wanted to talk about the Sixers last night. I've been late on getting on the get rid of Brett Brown wagon, and I'm not trying to say get rid of him. I think he's a nice guy, but this weekend and during this time in the Sixers bubble down in Orlando, coaching wise, man, he has no answers for the Boston Celtics. Yesterday, the Sixers played hard. I got to admit, they played hard. They tried, but it wasn't enough. They shot just 30% yesterday. Joel Embiid started off great, did not play great. Played okay, and matter of fact, got caught up in the Celtics' 10-0 run that won the game. He committed a turnover, got blocked by Jason Tatum from behind, and the Sixers are 3-0 in this series, which means basically it's over. The season is over. One player who has not stepped up in this series is one Tobias Harris. $180 million. He was supposed to be the replacement, or the guy that was supposed to be this year's version of Jimmy Butler. Hasn't happened. He's not played well in this series. He's gotten his points, but he hasn't been a dominating presence in this series has not been a dominating presence. And Brett Brown, man, looked like, I mean, Kemba Walker killed them in the down the stretch. All three, I mean, the Celtics had 3 superstars to the Sixers 1. And, you know, we talk about Ben Simmons, we talk about all those guys. But at the end, the Sixers are outmatched. I mean, until Game 3, Jason Tatum was killing the Sixers. And then last couple of games, Kemba Walker. It's what happens when you have a point guard who can actually shoot the basketball. Who can actually shoot. I like Ben Simmons. Hope he comes back from injury. There was some, I'm not going to say who it was, but somebody, one of my people I know in the media put out something that maybe, you know, that somehow Ben Simmons was dogging it. Not true. Stop it. He had issues with his kneecap, and get it together. But I hope during the process of Ben Simmons healing, please, for the love of God, learn how to hit a jump shot. The Shake Milton thing has not worked. Will not work. Sorry. And I think that the Sixers, either their $180 million superstar has to start playing like a $180 million superstar, or they really need to get guys. We're seeing the loss of Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, and it's really killed the Sixers. We have people on the phone. We have Joe from Germantown. Brother Joe, what say you about all this?
Brother Chris, good morning, Brother Chris, and to your wonderful producer, Brother Eric. I want to deal with the race and sports flash, but let me say this real quick, Chris, on the guest you have up on the roller derby. I harken back to the days of the 70s when I lived down North Philadelphia. I actually met all of them in person because the Hines family, one of the most beautiful black families you can find, they was friends with Judy Arnold and Jim Trotter, and when they came on Bancroft Street, I'll never forget it, back in the 70s, and we used to go see them roller derby all the time. I think the old Civic Center, I think it was. And, man, it was so much fun, man. Bring back so many memories, man. So when you had that brother on today, Chris, I'm going to sit back and listen, man, because I remember like it was yesterday. This was back in the early, mid-70s when I used to go to see Julie Arnold and Jim Trotter with the roller derby, man. It was so much fun, Chris. So much fun. And on Brett Brown, real quick, before I talk about the race and sports, and as far as the Sixers, because, yeah, like I said, Sixers, Lakers, only team I worry about they can get a Lakers problem if they get past Portland is, of course, Toronto, because that's a well-coached team. And I have to admit, because I wasn't too crazy about Toronto. I thought it was a fluke team. I thought the Caucasian coach was a fraud. But I admit, I'm a man up admit it. He's proved to be a damn good coach. And Toronto is a well-coached band. They're going to be tough for anybody to beat, including the Lakers. I think the Lakers can get them if the other guys step up with LeBron and AD, because I know they're going to get theirs. The other thing is we can beat them if we get to the finals against them. But if Toronto is no joke. They're a well-coached team. Now, as far as Brett Brown, you know, Chris, man, you like Kendrick Spears. I'm in that dilemma, too. Brett Brown is a nice guy. He's a likable guy. You like to see a guy like him succeed. I hate to see anybody lose their job. And normally when the coach is bad, I say get rid of it. But I feel for the guy because he's a good guy. He's not a nasty. He's a good guy. He may not be a great coach. He could be thinking filming Chris maybe in the organization as maybe as a scout guy or whatever like that. Maybe give him some kind of position in the organization but as a coach he's just not cutting it. And like you so correctly said, Chris, they just see a guy like that get fired because he is a nice guy. He's not like a nasty coach that curses out the media, whatever. He's not a nice bad guy. So that's why I kind of feel for the guy and stuff. But he's just not cutting it as a coach and stuff, you know. But just let me say this real quick on racism. I'm sure, Chris, you heard by now about the Charlotte Hornets announcer who made the tweeted Denver instead of Denver Nuggets. I like what Mark Jackson said, who's a former NBA player and announcer with I think TNT or ESPN. Mark said it best, Chris. He says, I just find it wide. He said because he said whenever Denver Nuggets play or any other team, I tweet out their thing when they play. He said, and it always comes off Denver Nuggets. It never comes off Denver Niggers. He said, obviously this guy must have had that programmed into his system. You understand what I'm saying, Chris?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, come on. I guess, can can we watch sports? I mean, people don't like me to bring up race in sports. People don't. People get mad if I bring politics or race into sports, but it's
it's the
there.
truth, though. You got to deal with it. But you got to deal with it
Yeah,
because it's
I
part
mean,
of reality, man. It's part of reality. You
it
know. I mean,
absolutely, I have to deal with it.
And I just find it kind of odd. Like I said, I don't know the man personally. I'm not saying he's a Ku Klux Klansman. I'm not saying all that. I'm not saying that. I take the position that Mark Jackson take. I just find it odd that it would pop up because, like I said, because you tweet out stuff on your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever, and if you or your computer, whatever device you use, and the N-word don't pop up unless you got it programmed in there and stuff. You know, it's the same way.
I would agree with that. I mean, you know, if go ahead. I'm sorry, but you know, I agree with you because you know it's part of the program. It's the culture. We've got to really have a come to Jesus moment when it comes to race in this country.
Yes,
you know, I say
yes.
we have to because the thing is we have to have a tough conversation because the thing is, you know, you don't understand. You know that whole lot, man. I'm a human being. If you're watching me through Facebook, I'm a human being. I bleed, I cry, I get upset. You know, I love I love barbecue pork. I know you're a Muslim, don't forgive me for saying that, but I'm just saying.
That's all right, no problem.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I'm human. And the thing is, and we're all human. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe.
I ain't gonna cut you off, but like you're absolutely right, because at the end of the day, like you said, you know, we human beings at the end of the day, and we should never make derogatory comments against anyone because of their race, religion, or sexual preference. I mean, this is totally unacceptable because it's the same way. Because I close with these last two comments, like when the police arrested a basketball coach up in Best County.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking about he was a team president. He's the guy. I can't remember. His name escapes me right now, but the guy's a team president, and he basically shoved the guy. I mean, and it's like, come on. I mean, good Lord, man. But all he saw was black. He didn't see he's guy's a team president of Toronto Raptors or that whatever. All he saw was the color of this guy's skin. I'm pointing into it. If you're not listening around, pointing to my skin, and that's all that he saw, and that's tragic. That's terrible, and we've got to stop that in this country. It ain't black folk fault. Sometimes when I hear you guys get angry about racism or whatever, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't want you to get out of your humanity. And,
I never do. My Muslim religion just don't allow me. Like I'm critical of certain Jewish people, but I could never hate Jewish people. You know, whether I think they're the true chosen people of God, which I don't necessarily do. The Caucasian ones, but I respect them. They convert to Judaism because as a Muslim, I have an obligation to protect and love my Christian and Jewish brothers. This is part of being a Muslim. I mean, I have a reverence for Jesus. You can't be a true Muslim and not love Jesus. I mean, this is all being part of being a Muslim. That's a factor, you know. But anyway, Chris, again, lastly, like I said, Chris, when that police officers, when they arrested this guy, this basketball coach who had child porn, he lied and said that he didn't know it was on his thing. And the police officer said it best. He said, you cannot, child porn will just pop up on your computer unless you got it programmed in there. You know what I mean? These people think somebody is stupid. So my point to closing is that basketball, that announcer for the Charlotte Hornets, he had to be using the N-word for a good while for it just to pop up on his Twitter thing, because it just don't pop up like that. It's what I'm saying, because you get in what you put in. You get out what you put in something. So, I mean, he had to been doing this thing for a while. So, you know, it just goes to show you where, like I said, we had a tough conversation in this country, and it's going to make white folks and even some of us feel uncomfortable about race, but we got to have it because there's just too much of this stuff going. Every time we turn around, whether it's a Nazi salute, whether it's, you know, making a racial slur, and then you had the NASCAR driver closed with this Chris, Kyle Lawson, he got suspended by NASCAR because he used the N-word several months ago. I mean, it's and these people in this era, Donald Trump, these people feel more emboldened. They just feel as though because Trump is in there, they can say whatever they want because they got a cover, they got a kindred spirit. And like you said, we got to continue to speak up, fight against these things. things, but at the same time, like you said, Chris, don't lose our humanity, but speak out forcefully against this kind of stuff. Thanks for your time, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, we got Thomas from South Philly. Thomas, how you doing?
Peace and blessings, everybody. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Hey, man, thank you, Nick and Prince Mary. This is the brother that hooked y'all up with Little Richard Brown.
I appreciate that, man.
Man, I appreciate
I
y'all.
definitely do.
I'm gonna be listening, but I wanted to call and thank you personally for that. But also, I wanted to talk about the hockey. When I learned so much on this radio station, just like when Johnny Sample used to do it with Brother Vaughn, Brother Germantown Joe, and all the other brothers used to call in when Johnny was around. And I used to learn so much, but Reverend Joe called last week and said about how black guys have started hockey up in Canada. I think it's called Amyville. I looked it up on Google, and
it's in New Brunswick. Yeah, I did a story on that when I was at the Tribune about a few years ago, and I would love. I got to get those guys on the show because they talk about that in many respects, according to these guys, that they invented the slap shot.
Right.
And the slap shot comes out of that league, and like I said, I got to look at my story archives, just because. And they sent me I want to say that they sent me a book or something that they gave me, which is in storage. I got too many things in storage, but the thing is just that that's out there. I need to be pushing hockey a little bit more, simply because I haven't, because of a lot of other things. During my weeks and everything, I'm also a college professor, and I'm trying to take care of my kids in that regard. But the thing is, hockey, black people are playing the sport. The Flyers have gone on to like I said, they eliminated the Canadiens in 6 games. They have a really good goalie, and they're going places, and I think that's going to be the thing. But I think if the further they go in the playoffs, the more that they're going to capture the city, and because the Sixers are terrible,
like I said, I agree with. Now I don't agree with everything what Charles Barkley says, but one thing I do agree with him: the Sixers need a tough coach. Because Embiid and Simmons are very, very undisciplined. They're not disciplined players to me. And and for Brown to come out of the San Antonio network, their team. What was the little guard they had on San Antonio? That point guard that ran their team.
Tony Parker.
Yes,
Tony Parker.
Tony Parker. Mm-hmm. They talked about Tony Parker. They said, even the players said this. They said that Pop, he stayed on Tony Parker because he said Tony Parker was his coach on the court. He was my point guard.
Right.
And they say the way he used to downgrade him, and Tony Parker became a good player. That's what somebody needed to do to Simmons. But today you got to be careful what you say and all that.
Yeah,
but
the kids. Some of these kids can't take that, man.
I know, but I'm telling you, that made Tony Parker a good player. Even the other players felt bad for Tony Parker. But he directed San Antonio to those 2 titles, that they got those titles that they got. I think they got like 3 or 4. I'm not sure. But all I know is that somebody needs to be hard on Simmons and the Sixers, and I think the next coach is going to come in and he's going to make them a little more tougher, because they got to be, or they're never going to win it. They're never going to win it.
I agree with you. They have to be mentally tough. And what I didn't see out of Embiid, he can sit in the corner and cry. But here's the deal, son. You got to play all 4 quarters of the game. You got to bring the same intensity. You can't be tired. And I don't know, maybe he needs to get a fitness guru or somebody to help him get in shape. But there are times when that guy, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And with Ben Simmons, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people out there say, well, he's young. Well, Donovan Mitchell is young, okay? Kemba Walker is young, okay? Learn the game. Involve your game. Jason Tatum is even younger. And Jason Tatum can play the game. I know in Embiid's case he got a late start. But Simmons, when you rehab your knee, and I hope you do that, I hope you come back great. I hope you have a speedy recovery or just a great recovery. But the thing is, and I got to go to break, everybody. But the thing is, man, evolve your game. Don't give me, oh, well, he's young. Don't be too hard off. No. We're in the media. We're going to criticize you. You're making all that money, and you're that great, and you tout yourself as being amongst the greats. Well, be great when you got to be great, to quote Lizzo. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to break. You listen to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Support independent black media and join the onWURD movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Philadelphia families, PHL Pre-K, the city's free pre-K program, is now enrolling. Over 130 pre-K centers are getting ready to serve children this year with appropriate health and safety precautions. There are no income limits for this free pre-K program. Children who are 3 or 4 years old as of September 1 can enroll. Call 844-PHL-PRE-K or visit phlprek.org to learn more and find a quality pre-K center. That's 844-PHL-PRE-K. This program is made possible by the Philadelphia Beverage Tax.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on wordradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk media.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around, and every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage.
The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at storycorpsconnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent black media.
Okay, we are back, and I gotta say again, I'm not gonna sing Lizzo's song. Why man great God when it gotta be great? I cannot sing that, but I think that song is apropos to what we're seeing with the Sixers team. You guys gotta be great when you need to be. We still have Richard from North Philly. Richard, are you still with us?
About
okay.
The Sixers.
All right. Well, let's
now.
Hello. Go ahead.
Hello? All right.
Yes.
Now, the 76ers, the process that we've introduced to some time now, and people are very impatient, with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, with all his potential, hasn't quite developed the jump shot and the things that he should be doing, and like that. While Joel Embiid, well, he seems, for a while, but he has problems staying in condition, During the series here, it seems like the Celtics have worn out the Sixers. And after Tobias Harris, Al Horford, and the rest of them, have been outplayed for the most part. So what do you think? Last night's game, the Sixers had their chances, but they missed some shots.
They played hard.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
But they were 30%. I'm going to tell you something, Richard. It reminds me of a conversation. When I first started the Philadelphia Tribune like 15, 16 years ago, first day on the job, I interviewed John Chaney, and we were talking about the Olympic men's basketball team that was with Allen Iverson, and they were having trouble scoring. They played great defense, but couldn't score. And I remember Coach telling me, Chris, playing great defense and not scoring is like working all day, working real hard, and not making any money. But we haven't scored, and the Sixers were 30%. Since that the Boston was asking to be beaten last night. If you ask me, they were saying we're ready to be beaten. We're tired. The Sixers could not get And when you can't score, I mean, and like I said again, where's Tobias? Struggled in this series. Where's Tobias Harris? I feel like the guy in the wire. Where's Wallace? Where's Tobias? Where's Tobias at? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm kind of like just waiting for these guys to get together. They might win game 4, but they're not going to win game 5 or game. I mean, I don't unless the Celtics pull a New York Yankees 2005 ALCS, type choke. The Sixers are done, and I think Brett Brown's time in Philadelphia might be done. And it's hard for me to say that because I've met Brett, nice guy, good guy, good basketball mind, but he's just not enough to bring these guys to that level. You understand? I mean, am I right, or what do you?
You're right. You're right. Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. And and like that, And so, anyway. Another thing, yesterday, I know my history book was the birthday of one Wilt Chamberlain, August 21st. The birthday of one. Yeah, when they talk about great players now, I heard on ESPN, they don't include Wilt. They say Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, and a couple of Scott who else they say. But Wilt, it seems, is like he's left out of the discussion. They include Bill Russell too, and like that. But Wilt, it seems to be left out.
And what about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? And you're right about that. Wilt is left out.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar too, but they leave out Wilt.
I agree with that. And Wilt, to me, was a guy. If you look up center position, you could put him there. Hey, Richard, I gotta move on. I got Fishman in U City and Calvin in Delaware. So Fishman because our guest is here, and I want to make sure we get our guest in. But I'm gonna get through these 2 calls. So Fishman from University City. What's up, Fishman?
Got to hook 'em to cook 'em. You got to buy 'em to fry 'em.
Okay. Yep, that's true. I'm here.
And you got Little Richard Brown today?
Yeah, I'm he's coming up next after Calvin. Then I'm bringing him in.
That means I ain't gonna hold you long. Like I said, I met Mr. Brown at Embassy Suite Hotel down by the airport. He was the head of security, and when I got to the site on my first night of work, 11 at night to 7 in the morning, they said, when you get there, make sure you see Mr. Brown. I said, I know James Brown, I know Little Richard Brown. I said, who calling himself Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown. And I asked him, he said, yeah, I'm Mr. Brown. I said, Little Richard Brown from the roller derby? He said, yes. And then finally, I like to leave you with this one. My family turned me on to 2 movies this week. If you get a chance, you need to check them out. One is about boxing. It's called Boxing Inside and Outside of the Ring.
Okay.
And the second one is on professional wrestling, and it's called 350 Days. Thank you, brother.
I will check this out. Okay. We have Calvin from Delaware. Calvin, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. What's happening? What's on your mind?
Back in 2017, when the Sixers, when Marshall Fultz and Jason Tatum came out, out of the draft, Julius Erving even said the Sixers should have picked up Tatum instead of Sixers going with Marco Fultz. And look how it turned out. This guy Tatum, he's killing them. He's killing. They had a chance to get him, but they didn't want to go with that. They wanted the number one, thinking Fultz would be the answer to everything, and he wasn't. But I just think tomorrow you need to break out the brooms. I think the Boston going to sweep them.
Okay. Thank you for the call. I appreciate that. You're right. And my man Don Hunt, my old partner from the Tribune, is sitting at home saying, if I see Don Hunt in the press box this year, he's going to say the same thing. He's going to say it again. All right. It is my pleasure to welcome a sports legend in this town and in many towns up and down the East Coast. Roller derby was a regular staple in the 1970s on Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, depending upon which city you saw it in and everything. You watched that along with Soul Train every weekend. And it is my pleasure to have a legend of that sport, a guy they call Little Richard Brown, although I'm not too fond of calling adult men little, but in that situation, Mr. Brown, first of all, welcome to the show today.
Good morning, Chris. How are you this morning?
Man, I am doing okay, man. It's a beautiful day. I was kind of overcast where I'm at, but the thing is it's a beautiful day. But man, last couple of nights, I've been going back through the history of the sport a little bit and trying to, and all of a sudden, I see names Jim Trotter, Judy Arnott, all these people that were out there that played the game. The names kind of came back to me a little bit, but kind of talk about those days. I mean, you got, and I want to know. One of my friends wanted to know was you played for the Philadelphia Warriors. You also played with the Baltimore Cats. But talk about what memories do you have of those days, going roller games, and just the competition and the sport, the camaraderie you all developed, and all that.
Well, actually, my career started professionally in 1964. I started training 3 years prior to that. My sister used to watch the roller derby on TV, and she would make me watch it with her. And then one day, me and a friend of mine in school said, let's go down and try this out and see what's going on. So we went down to the training school. The first night I got on the track, they put me in pro training. I wasn't able to skate professionally because you had to be 16, and at the time I was 13. I started training with all of the greats like Charlie O'Connell, Ken Monty, Joan Weston, Lou Donovan, DeWitt Quarles, who was actually my favorite skater, DeWitt Quarles, when I was coming up. And I trained with them for 3 years, and then in 1964 I skated my first professional game with the San Francisco Bay Bombers. Mm-hmm. I left the roller derby and the San Francisco Bay Bombers and went over to another organization called Roller Games, and that's where most of my career was, with roller games. I've skated up until last year, 2017. I skated a game in that exhibition game that they had in Pleasanton, California. I skated a game at the age of 72.
Wow.
And basically that's where we are. I've skated most of my career that people remember me was with the Philadelphia Warriors and the Baltimore Washington Cats. I also skated with the world-famous Los Angeles Thunderbirds in the beginning of my career with roller games. But I've skated on a lot of teams, been to a lot of foreign countries, met a lot of people. I would never have given it up. I love the bank track. And one of the things I like to mention while I can is that a few years ago, I got involved with the all-women roller derby, the Penn Jersey roller derby team out of Philadelphia. And I had the opportunity to train them on the bank track, to teach them how to skate on the bank track. And that was like 3 of the greatest years that I've had, was spending time with them. And I just want to thank them for letting me be a part of their organization for that time. Okay.
Now, a lot of people from this era probably don't know the rules about how to score, and I'm gonna go through it a little bit. And I hope and if I'm wrong, please jump in. Now, you scored points by basically lapping your opponent. By lapping your opponent, and you had to do it by avoiding them blocking you, jamming you, and as a matter of fact, you had to wear the hat you had to wear the jammer hat, and only jammers could score points at least in roller games. Was that were those the same rules? And how tough and physical did you have to be to go up against? It's like 5-on-5, a couple of guys blocking you, knocking you down, and it's almost. I mean, how was that?
Well, basically, the idea that you had is right. Each team has 5 players on the track. They have, in roller games, we had 3 blockers and 2 jammers. The jammers had striped helmets to indicate that they were the ones that could score. You start at the back of the pack. You have 60 seconds to work your way through the pack, go all the way around and catch the pack again, and then for every person on the opposite team you pass, you would give 1 point. In roller derby, they had what they called a pivot skater, which had a solid black helmet, they started at the front of the pack. Once the jam was started by a jammer, then the pivot skater could go out and become an eligible jammer and also score. So in that case, then the first two, the pivot and a jammer, or the two jammers, whichever two were the first two to score, were the only ones that could score during that period.
Wow. Okay. Now, a lot of those games got contentious. I think the way I remember it, it was always matches against the New York Bombers and maybe some other teams. But and it was almost some people now. And please tell me if this is true. I've heard some stories that it was kind of like scripted, like wrestling, so to speak. And it was like because sometimes they had the match. You had the match races. You had the trash. It was great. It was great TV in terms of trash talking each other and all that. I was wondering if you could talk about that as well. Your memories of that.
Okay, I have skated in both scripted matches and I've skated in straight matches.
Right.
It depends on the era that we skated in. To give you an example, is in 1998, I went down to Florida and skated with a group called Roller Jam, and we did it on inline skates. Most of them. There was a few that did their quads, but most of them were on inline skates. That show was a scripted show along with, like, wrestling. They had storylines and the whole thing about it.
Right.
And so we have skated. I have skated all types of games, all types of games. And you're talking about being rough, regardless of whether or not it was scripted, entertainment, or whatever. You would get injured out there. I've had both my shoulders separated. I had my chest separated. I had 3 ligaments torn off my spinal column. I had all my ribs cracked. I had both arms broken at the same time. I've had my knee, the ligaments torn off my knees, my ankles broken, my fingers are broken from fighting and stuff. So when you went over that rail, when you landed on that cement floor, I don't care whether they say it was scripted or not, you got injured.
Right. And that was the thing. But it's also it's a lot of speed involved, a lot of physicality. Let me ask about the match races, because the one thing that it seemed like they never showed, at least where I was, they never showed the match races on live TV. You had to go. The games themselves was the hook. But if you wanted to see the match races, you had to go down to the games themselves and whatnot. In other words, and that consisted of going around the track 5 times and just basically being the winner on the way there. But it was a lot of physical stuff going on in there as well.
Well, match races were used by the management to make extra money, but they were, when two skaters did not get along on the track, because anytime you have a body contact sport, people are going to get mad at each other, and fights are going to be held. So the management came up with the idea, you guys want to fight, we'll do it in what they call a match race. Normally it was 5 laps, anything goes, but we have done endurance races, speed races, but it was the way that management saw that they could make extra money. I can only remember maybe about 3 match races that were actually televised, because their thought is if the people watch it on TV, they don't have to pay to come down here and watch it in person.
Right. Okay. How many of those did you win? I heard you won a lot of them.
Well, I've had my share that I've won. I got a lot of different trophies for different races that I've been in. As far what you had mentioned about the size of people and whether or not you had to be a big person, we had 95, 97-pound women out there skating, and we've had 285-pound men and women out there skating. If you learn to skate the game, learn to skate the track the proper way, size really didn't matter. In the sense that if a big guy, I'd rather go against a big guy, because my thought was always if I went against someone my own size and I got the better of them, people are just going to say, oh, yeah, good, he's got him. But if I went against a big guy and I put that big guy down, it stood their minds. And so that's what I always did. I just went after the big guys, it didn't matter. The Jim Trotters, the Buddy Axis Seniors, the juniors, John Parker, these are all names that people knew that they beat me up. But I would always keep coming back. I was like the Energizer Bunny. Took a licking but kept on ticking.
Right. Okay, hey, Richard, stay with us because we have to go to break, and I got some calls. I want to ask you some questions. So, you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
On Saturday, August 22nd, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium will come to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community Beit El Afia Mosque at 1215 West Glenwood Avenue in North Philadelphia to provide free tests for anyone in the community experiencing symptoms. Council President Darrell Clark is sponsoring this event in partnership with the Black Doctors Consortium. It runs from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Their mission is to provide COVID-19 testing to African Americans. Data shows that African Americans and Hispanics make up a disproportionately large percentage of COVID-19 cases. If you have COVID-19 symptoms, fever, chills, cough, a sore throat, shortness of breath, or fatigue, come out Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to the mosque at 1215 West Glenwood Avenue and get tested.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lanternflies, termites, bedbugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
This is Word Radio, independent black media.
JD's Auto Body and Painting is hiring talent for the following positions. Assembler, preferably 2 to 3 years experience, able to tear down and reassemble all make and model cars. Painter, must have at least 5 years overall painting experience, including experience in water-based paint and able to prep cars for paint jobs. Auto Body Technician, looking for an A or B technician, must have at least 5 years experience repairing cars. Please send your resume to JD's Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net. That's JDS Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net or call 215-848-5949 for more details. JD's Auto Body and Painting is an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. We have, as a reminder, I guess it's little Richard Brown from roller games, roller derby, and was one of the best players I ever saw in the sport. And so, but Richard, we have a couple of callers that have questions, and people try to keep them brief, but I have some questions for you. And so we got Joe from Philly. Joe, go ahead with the question. Okay, well, Joe's gone. Clyde from South Philly.
Hey, Chris, thanks for taking my call. Mr. Brown, you have been a major inspiration for me. I've took roller skating to a lot of heights because of you. I used to go down to the arena, and I got several beatings for not going to church because I came down to the roller games. I'm trying to tell you, sir, it is an absolute pleasure to listen to you. I've only met you once. Been in a few movies as far as Roll Bounce, the documentary on HBO, and done a lot of things in skating because of you. You were one of my major inspirations. I've always wanted to meet and sit and talk with you. This is a joy just to listen to you right now. Like I said, I only met you once as a child. I found out that you had moved out of the city, kind of broke my heart. I even went down to 17th in Allegheny. I was training some people as far as speed skating on the bank track. It is nothing like the bank track. I'm just elated right now. I really am. You have done a lot for a lot of people in skating right now. And I mean, from me going from, just looking at roller derby and just trying to beat up everybody when I was a kid and buying them plastic helmets and taking them in the skating rink and telling them to go sit down with that thing to getting to the rhythmic part of it and the artistic part of skating, and you have been a major influence, and I just want to thank you, sir.
Well, I thank you very much. First of all, roller derby or roller games or any other thing that you want to call it could never be without the support of the fans. One of my greatest joys was meeting with the fans after the game, signing autographs, talking with them, going over to visit some of them at the different homes and stuff. That was one of the joyous times that I had. But if it wasn't for you guys, we would have never have been anyway. So I want to thank you for just being a fan and being there for us. A lot of the skaters felt the same way. You know, I keep in touch with a lot of people want to know about the Judy Arnolds, the Buddy Atkinsons, and the Von Riggins and the Jim Trotters. Well, I stay in touch with most of them. Every year, except for this year because of coronavirus, we have a reunion in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so we get a chance to see all of our old friends that we normally won't be able to see because we're all scattered all over the United States. But Jim Trotter's alive and well. He just had a birthday on August the 14th. He's in Florida. Judy Arnold is a minister in Christ. She is in California. Yvonne Riggins still lives in southern New Jersey. Willie Brown is in Philadelphia. Jeffrey Hart's in Philadelphia. Lynn Congleton's in Philadelphia. So we're scattered out, but we try to get together and keep in touch as most as we can. We've lost a few of the good people. We lost Buddy Atkinson Jr., which broke my heart last year. Right. But we're still hanging in there.
I hear you. Now, I have Jeff Hart from West Philly on the line. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
Richard, let me say this. Richard Brown was one of the best skaters. As a former skater who skated with Richard and against Richard, many of us young black skaters took on a senior skater as sort of our big brother dad. And Richard's mine. And Richard and I talk on a regular basis still today. Everything he has told you is so true. We enjoyed what we did. And some of us still run around and do it from time to time, like Richard at age 70 plus.
72?
But that's my big brother, Richard. And I just want you to know that you're talking to one of the most exciting skaters who ever put on skates. Like Richard, my mentor was George Copeland, who was the very first African-American black skater to skate, and DeWitt Quarles, who was one of the first black skaters to win the Rookie of the Year award in 1960. Richard mentioned DeWitt, and I'm just saying that's what I sat at home and watched right here in Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia, out of West Philadelphia High School, and Lynn Congleton, Bernie Congleton, Butch McCrae. We all came out, Roger McLeod. We all come out of West Philadelphia High School, and we're all still here in Philadelphia. When Richard was talking about Buddy passed last year, we also lost Lena McBride, who a lot of people really admired here in Philadelphia. Lefty Lena, she left us a few years ago. We lost Skinny Minnie Miller, Sonia Sims. We've had a few cancer.
All those people, wow, I don't mean to interrupt, but that every time you bring up those names, I was like, yeah, I remember them, and I watched you guys. Sonia, I remember Sonia Sims, Judy Arnold. Wow. Let me ask this question. Let me step in for one quick second. Let me ask this question. I mean, I always like to trash talk. I mean, how much was that? How fun was that for you guys? You know, it was almost like, you know, it's one of the few venues of sports where athletes are really, they're not above, they're not, well, we played a nice, it was a great game. They really, the opponents went after each other.
Richard, you want that? Well, I'll tell you this. The guy who came into the league after Richard and learned from Richard Brown and Larry Lewis, I had the opportunity to actually race Richard in a match race. And that was because Larry and I were on the same team. Richard and Greg Quinn were on the same team, and we all had some difficulties, and we skated against, but we're still friends. Richard and I are still friends, and it was great to trash talk, man. Come on.
Yeah, Richard, talk about it from your perspective.
Well, I've skated both what they call home shirt and home team and visiting team, and no matter what you do on a home team, you're always right. No matter what you did on a visiting team, you were always wrong. So I had a chance to go both ways. And when I was on a visiting team, one of the greatest things I love to do is to go up to a rail and find a home team fan and antagonize that person to the point. Especially women. Because I always thought if they get mad enough at me, they're going to come back again and they're going to bring a friend with them. So, I was always going to be getting paid. That was just the way I was. But that was part of the game, But when it came down to being serious, I could stand up with the best of them. Jeffrey could stand up, all of them. Because of the training that we got back in the days, we could go toe-to-toe with just about anybody, big or small. One of the easiest things for me to do was to put a big guy down, only because I knew that if you hit them low, push one foot into the other, it was a lot easier for them to go down than me to try to attack them up in the body area there, because I just bounce right off of them, So it's just a matter of the training and learning that you got. But that's
Chris,
part of it.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, when you were just talking about us having our difficulties on the track and going up to the rail, because I'm like Richard, I started on the Texas Outlaws but ended up on the Philadelphia Warriors for quite a while before I went to the New York Bombers and then to the New York Chiefs. So I've done home and away teams too, and like Richard said, we've been overseas. We did a lot of traveling, and but the one thing, Chris, that would be the most scariest for us is when the fans would go off. I've been in a couple of riots, and Richard has too.
I'm sorry, laughing. That's funny, though. But
we've been in a couple of riots, man. At the Spectrum one time, we had a guy almost jump from the midway down on Ronnie Raines as he was leaving the track from beating up Judy Arnold. I saw.
Are you serious? Really?
I saw Jeff Adams get his head split open in St. Louis by a fan. The fans would attack us from time to time. And that probably was the scariest piece of Washington, D.C. Oh, my God, the Washington Coliseum, where Richard was on the home team. We would be scared to drive. They used to take us in a paneled truck to get us into the Coliseum because the fans were that ready to get us from the visiting teams.
Wow.
That was the most scary.
Yeah, Jeff,
Go ahead, Richard.
I don't know if you remember, Chris, back in early part of Philadelphia at the arena, they had to build a cage from the track to the dressing room in order to get the skaters back and forth out of there. That's how bad these fans would be sometimes.
Philadelphia, I think at one point Oakland, Washington, D.C. were places that we went, Chris, and we went in prepared for the fans almost as much as we prepared for the other team.
Wow. See, here's the thing, but in terms of the roller game league, and I know there are different manifestations of the sport, but it was I'm still, it's a mystery to me as to why it stopped, because it was popular. I mean, and it was like one of the callers suggested earlier. I mean, you would end up being late for church, or you get flushed out, or you just said, I'm not, you would just eat, even a casual sports fan, I mean, I wasn't a casual, I was a big sports fan. I could not help but watch. I mean, I had to hear my mother, come on, you got to go to church. And we would just watch. I mean, we talk about it in school. I mean, it was, why did then it just stopped? What happened?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why it did. I don't know if you remember, during the time we really stopped, it was the fuel prices, and we did mostly all of our traveling was by car or bus.
Right.
And so that fuel prices hurt us. And then there was mismanagement by the owners themselves. One owner tried to produce a play on Broadway, lost over $1 million, where that money should have went back into the game, roller derby, So there's a lot of skaters disinterested. Their disinterest in the game helped. I think one of the biggest problems was that because they closed at the training center, there was nowhere to build new talent. So when your older skaters started retiring and stuff, they really had no one to replace them that was interesting enough out there, you know, they went into skating rinks and found people on the flat track, put them on a bank track for a few times, and then wanted to put them in a game. So, I mean, there was a lot of reasons why it fell. And it just, I mean, I've been a roller derby fanatic from the day I started training until this day. I lived, breathed roller derby, roller games, whatever. I just thank my wife because she put up with all of that aggravation. She was never a fan. Her family were fans of mine. When I met my wife, she was, who the heck is Little Richard Brown? You know, she didn't care. So it was just a lot of combination of things that failed. Of course, all through the years, other organizations tried to start up, but it was never that momentum that you're talking about back in the late 60s, early 70s, you know.
Yeah. Well, I got to end this right here and whatnot. We could talk about this all day, but like I say, Mr. Brown, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Mr. Hart, for calling in. Maurice and Woody, I'll get to you guys after break. I've got to go break, but thank you guys for being here. This is probably one of the best segments I think I've ever done on this show. I had so much fun doing this segment, just want to say. So thank you guys so much. We got to go to break, and you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, Black Talk Media, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
Tune in Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to hear Empire Capital and Consulting founder Mark Palmer's show titled Black Money, Black Power. This show centers around black money and how black power is derived from money. Tune in every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Black Money, Black Power, hosted by Mark Palmer.
Listen to Laborers Live. We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Tune in this Sunday at 4 p.m. for the Halal Industry Show with information on economic justice, hosted by Imam Wali Bilal. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media. Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back, man. It was a shame for that segment to end like that because we got a lot of other things to get on this show. But man, it just brought back. I remember Buddy Atkinson. And I remember Sonia Sims. I mean, I remember all of a sudden it just brought back memories. I remember those times I'd get up and in Baltimore was on channel 45. It was on I think Philly was channel 17 or whatever the UFHA station was at the time. But man, we'd be up on Saturday or Sunday mornings watching the roller game, and we were following the storylines because roller games was kind of, I think, was scripted. But you like the storylines. I mean, and the thing is, whether it's fake or real, I mean, we love the storylines. Okay, we got let me see, we got Woody from Woody at the barbershop. Woody, what did you think of this? Did you enjoy that last time? Sorry, I couldn't squeeze you in there, man.
Man, let me tell you something. I got a customer in the chair. He's an athlete himself. He's also a teacher. And these athletes are just amazing people. They last for a long time. And the issue about the emotional stuff that I feel just by listening to Mr. Brown talk, and I can hear it in your voice, these young people in the streets need that, man. They don't have anywhere to release stuff. And I'd like to see a church league, Chris. If you could put together, we got a lot of churches in Philly, but a church league for roller derby and get him to be the guy that's in charge, and it could be a few dollars made to help people out as well. I just think something like that would be great, Chris, if you got involved with it, because the spirit of even thinking of a show like this to happen, I pat you on the back, man, and it's history. See, that history regenerates itself, and it helps us move on. You can't know where you're going until you know where you came from, and I just want to thank you for bringing it back.
Woody, I would definitely agree with that, because and it's a shame that sport, because that sport had a following. That sport probably had more of a following than, say, UFC does today. And although I'm starting to get UFC a little bit. I'm starting to like it a little bit. I had to. I'm a boxing aficionado. I love boxing, but the thing is that and I think that Woody's right. I think and Maurice, Maurice from Southwest Philly, you would probably say the same as well. Maurice?
I grew up with his family.
Yeah.
The Rich Brown family where I grew up. He was my old head.
Right.
His family.
He was your old head.
Family. He has a large family. He was my old head here. I wish I could have got on, because I could have brought back a lot of memories. I mean, what the gentleman Woody was talking about is, see, back then and then we had a lot of activities to take our young people to. We could take them to things like that and bring them home and laugh and joke, and maybe they couldn't get professional skates, but they could get the clap-ons and pretend they was at the rotor ring. See, we don't have that today. Everybody's an individual thing now, and everybody's in the house on the computer or playing a PlayStation or on the phone, but there's no group activity anymore. And that's what we're missing right now, groups of young people together and having a good time. Everything is on the phone or texting. There's no more face-to-face. You had to meet your friends, and then you also had to meet your friends' parents. That's what kept everything clean. We don't have that anymore. And I just appreciated him coming on, and I just wanted to say a couple of things about him and his family, because he has I wait till the next time he comes on, I let him say it, but he has a beautiful family that helped raise me. So I know all about his brothers and sisters, and man, he's a special guy. And we looked at him, when we walked around the neighborhood, we always told everybody, you know who we know, you know who's in our clique. And they were like, oh, wow, everybody like, you know him? So I'm just saying, and I forgot to say, I am Chris Murray. And I want you to know that I just want to jump on another subject real quick, and that is, I told you earlier about people going back into, having kids go back into sports right now, especially at the school level. And right now, I just think that like I said before, it's a little dangerous, because they don't have this thing down to like a little science on exactly how they want to do this to keep everybody safe and to keep the coaches and the participants that want to see these sports safe. But until they do that, I say lay a little low on that. And for the kids that's maybe going to college, it's going to be rough on them. I'm sorry for them, but right now we're dealing with life and death, and we don't want nobody on the respirator. And you had a great show today, and that was one of your best segments, and I want to thank you for that.
No problem, man. Thank you. Thank you for as always calling in. We got Joe from Philly.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah. I'm good. That was a great segment, but I was on earlier, but I didn't have anything to take to the great one, little Richard. But I want to talk about the Sixers. Go ahead. No Sixers fan should be surprised at the outcome of them being down 3-0. They're about to get swept. Nobody should be surprised, because the coach, Brent Brown, decided he's going to change what they have been doing all year long and switch the point guard to the power forward. You can't go into the bubble and switch off from your point guard to get a brand new point guard, so you're making brand new chemistry all over again. You're going to change everything. And then you go into the playoffs against Boston with a guy who never played point guard in the playoffs before. Mm-hmm. And then every other day, one day you're starting Hartford, the next day you starting Seibel. One day Hartford, next day Seibel. The coach doesn't have a clue about chemistry, and so once they get a new coach in here, I'm afraid he's just going to be the next guy fired, because they're not going to trade Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, because then Brown's going to get fired. He's not going to do that, because it's all about the bottom line. It's putting people in the seats when it's time. So the Sixers are in trouble, and Philly fans should just sit back and wait for the next coach to come in here. But if it was up to me, I would get rid of Ben Simmons, because you never have to ask a basketball player to shoot. You never have to do that. You never have to beg somebody. You beg somebody to shoot the ball, and I understand why Brent Brown did it. This is his last gasp. He was like begging this guy to shoot the ball. He wouldn't shoot the ball, so he took the point guard spot from him. But he had to do something to probably save his job. But it ain't gonna work. It's getting swept, and Brent Brown's gonna get fired, and the next coach's gonna get fired. And I just hope, I'm all for hiring black coaches, but I hope he's not a brother, because he's going to be fired. So
I would agree with you. I mean, I don't think that a coach, it's not up to a coach to tell a player, hey, look, man, work on your shot, work on your game. I mean, I think that, he has to want to do that. And, the problem is that I think he's been coddled, so to speak. I mean, there's a part of me, and I know a lot of people say, get the money, get the money, get the money. But there's a part of me that says that I wish these guys would stay in college for at least a couple of years. Because I think at the collegiate level, you could learn. And unless you're LeBron, unless you are a bona fide, just stud talent like a LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and all people like that, I think it would benefit. And in some respects, even if you were like Jason Tatum, learn some of the fundamental aspects. Learn how to carry a team. The one beauty of the NCAA tournament is to see guys perform well. I still remember seeing a Juan Dixon do well, or to see Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas carry teams to the NCAA title, to get that experience of how to react in pressure situations. I wonder in Ben Simmons' days before he got hurt, and I'm not gonna knock a man, but I wonder if he ever learned how to be play in those pressure packed situations where a game is on the line. I wonder about that. Maybe he did AAU. I'm not really sure. But when he was at LSU they played one game in the SEC tournament, and that's it. And so from when I, see that, and that's the kind of thing I believe. Now, some guys, like I say again, LeBron James, Kobe, some other guys just have that dog in them. But I wonder about some of these other guys coming out of high school. I still say you need that experience. I don't care, you may be ready for the pros, but you need that experience. So you need that experience. So I wonder about Ben. I wonder about that with Joel Embiid too. I mean, you need to have that experience in being a big game player. Elijah Wan didn't win a championship at the collegiate level, but he won at the pro level, going up against Patrick Ewing and James Worthy and playing in those games. They didn't win in the clear, but Elijah Wan came out. Elijah Wan was better than Ralph Sampson. Even though Sampson was way ahead of him in his game. Elijah Wan came out.
I remember what they did to Ralph Sampson. Ralph Sampson was holding down the big man spot, and they drafted Elijah Wan, and Elijah Wan got there. They moved Ralph to the power forward spot, and I think that made Ralph Sampson less of an aggressive player because he had to move out of Elijah Wan's way. And,
right.
So I always liked Ralph Sampson and Elijah Wan, but I remember one game to show you how mean 6'5" Charles Barkley was. He dunked 11 times in one game against Akeem and Ralph Sampson. in one game.
Yeah.
11 times.
Yeah, but like I say, Joe, and like I got Joe, I got to move on. But thanks for the call.
Okay.
But I just want to make another point though, is that you gotta evolve your game. You gotta, I mean, you know, even guys like Charles Barkley learn how to shoot from outside. But you know, you got to add this. Everybody's athletic in this league. Everybody's a great athlete. We got Tyrone from North Philly. Tyrone.
Hey, peace and blessings, good brother. How are you?
Peace and blessings to you. I'm doing okay, man.
Well, man, look, another fantastic show, my good brother. And you know what? Roller derby was my stuff. I can't cuss. Roller derby was my stuff. And let me just say this. Not because my sister played, and Jeffrey Hart, man, Jeffrey was one of those folks that will stop you from scoring. And when you need to score and you whip him around that field, that ring, he's going to score.
Uh-huh. Right.
But look, I'm telling you, brother, I'm so excited just to hear us talk about, sports like roller derby, things where, like the trotters and these folks were balling, man. They were true balling. And I'm going to give Jeff another, high five. Man, Jeff was a great program host, man. He was one of those brothers that when you called his program, if he didn't have the information, he would sure enough get it. But he was thorough in terms of, sharing information. So I definitely want to give him a high five for that. But I'm just calling.
Right.
Excited to hear that we're talking about roller derby. And my sister, her name was Crystal Quilo. And you know what? Hey, Brother Chris, you ain't going to believe this. I always thought she was a warrior, right? But it wasn't until this year. This year, and matter of fact, not only this year, it was about a month or two ago that she told me that she wasn't a warrior. Matter of fact, she always, was on the opposite teams against the Warriors. So, man, that just kind of blew my mind because I thought, I'm a sports fanatic, brother. I mean, I know stuff about any kind of sport. But, man, that kind of threw me to a loop because as much as I love that game and I love my sister and I love to see her play, I always thought she was on one team. And I'm just learning this year that she said, no, Ty, I was never a warrior. And I was getting ready to argue against her, but, you can't argue with somebody about what they did. But I just wanted to share. Yeah, that's true. Brother. And I thank you for always allowing me to share.
All right. Thank you, Tyrone. We got Maurice from North Philadelphia.
Hey, Chris. How's everything?
Everything is good.
Shout out, Chris. I want to give a shout out to the Giant. He took care of Philadelphia without fanfare. He did a lot for the Sunny Hill League, the Baker League, and he took over. He's done things for 200 different charities. He put Flores Griffin Joyner on the map and Jackie Joyner Kersey when he went to California and started a track team for women. Jackie Joyner said that when Wilt came to California, she was running with the boys, and Wilt asked her, "Why are you running with the boys?" She said, "There's no money for girls." He said, "Well, get the girls, and I'll sponsor your track team from now on." And Wilt Chamberlain's birthday was yesterday. And not only was a Giant from Philly, he was a Giant around the globe. And Philly people, whether it's, Wilt or Bill Cosby, that did a lot for this city, especially for the black youth in the city and HBCU schools. Bill got fanfare, but Wilt Chamberlain never got fanfare for what he did. He didn't want no fanfare. He just wanted to do it quietly and keep moving. So the Giant birthday was yesterday, and I want to give a shout out to the Giant. Secondly, the Sixers, people have to understand. Now, I'm not talking about the basketball fan, I'm about basketball players. If you understand what Brett Brown going through, he's a teacher, and these dudes have to be taught. You're looking at players that have longevity playing. So you're going to go through growing pain. They want to win right now. Championships don't win right now. Tatum is better, Jason Tatum is better, and Kawhi Leonard is better because they worked out with Kobe Bryant for years. They worked out with a winner. They understood how to win. And if you don't understand how to play, which we see the Sixers, poor ball movement, poor floor spacing, that's understanding how to play. So he's constantly teaching. He comes from a teacher. So you can't get overnight success without playing your dudes. So that's why when you had the Golden State Warriors, because they understood how to space the floor and had good shooters, they won. That's what made them a good team. They was team-oriented, not no individual, until they got KD. So until we understand how to win on any sport, and understand what it takes to be a winner, you're going to struggle. And that's the microcosm of Philadelphia sport. It's not one player not going to deliver you. One player got a great players around him to help him. Kawhi Leonard won last year because he had great players. He had great players around him to help him. So you're not going to win just by showing up and thinking Ben Simmons going to show up and win. Ben Simmons has years of experience. So you should have put other pieces of player, shooter, and different things around him. And the Sixers never got a shooter but J.J. Redick. And he don't play D, so you're going to struggle. Thank you.
Yeah, and see, and you mentioned an interesting point, because here you have Tobias Harris, who's being paid $180 million, and I'm sorry, I mean, you got to deliver. He has not delivered. And you got now you're seeing why you got to have the mentality of a guy like, Jimmy Butler. You got to have that. You got to have that guy on your team. You got to have killers. The Sixers don't have anybody on that team who, they're all very good players compared to, say, the rest of us. But you need people who are going to be killers. Who are going to be, not killers in them. I'm talking about. You need guys who have that instinct. Like Kobe Bryant. Kobe just basically, when he got on the roll, he destroyed you. That's what Kobe, that's what Michael Jordan did. LeBron James will do that too from time to time. Wilt Chamberlain did that too. Bill Russell, guys like that. The Sixers have to have this team. We're seeing how the loss of J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler has hurt this team. And I like Tobias Harris, but, there's like an APB for him. Where is his brother? He's got to contribute to this team. He's got to be he was supposed to be that third superstar to Ben Simmons and to Joel Embiid. And part of the problem is a lack of maturity. I got to say it. I know they're young. I know people say, oh, Chris, they young. But you still got to play. This I think talent-wise, this city has never been this close to a championship in a long time. In a long, long time. And that window is probably going to close a little bit unless Elton Brand can get some guys here, you get Ben Simmons back, and there needs to be an intervention or something. And say Ben, and I'm not saying Ben Simmons has to take 3-point. He doesn't have to become a 3-point specialist. Be able to, like Kemba Walker, basically ignited that run or scored last night off a 2-point bucket. He basically scored off of a 2-point and ignited a 10-0 run to win the game. You don't have to always hit the dramatic three, but sometimes you just got to hit that foul line jumper, the 15-footer. Sometimes you just got to lay the ball in, or you got to, take that jump shot. In the case of Ben Simmons, take the ball in the bucket, get fouled more. Take the ball. You can dunk it. One of the problems I have with Joel Embiid is he gets in the paint and he's always taking a fade away. You don't need to take a fade away. You need a muscle. You need to bully that ball in. You need to play a little bully ball and whatnot. You do, but at the same time, I wonder about this. I wonder about this team, and I wonder, what's going on with these guys. So, I'm still waiting for my guest to call in, but I guess if she should call. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. We're going to continue this discussion. I'm trying to bring in John Mitchell in as well, and I want you guys in on the discussion too. What's the Sixers do? Okay, so you're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WRD, Black Talk Media. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation? Follow us on social media using the hashtag onWURD. Be heard. Stay connected to Word Radio. Independent Black Media.
RG Electrical Inspections provides electrical inspections for realtors, licensed electricians, and homeowners. RG is a certified plans examiner and licensed underwriter providing assistance for PICO outages. RG is also listed on PICO's website. RG Electrical Inspections is a licensed and insured underwriter serving Philadelphia and surrounding areas. Call if you have plans to review today, 267-902-1655.
On Saturday, August 22nd, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium will come to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community Beit El Afia Mosque at 1215 West Glenwood Avenue in North Philadelphia to provide free tests for anyone in the community experiencing symptoms. Council President Darrell Clark is sponsoring this event in partnership with the Black Doctors Consortium. It runs from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Their mission is to provide COVID-19 testing to African Americans. Data shows that African Americans and Hispanics make up a disproportionately large percentage of COVID-19 cases. If you have COVID-19 symptoms, fever, chills, cough, a sore throat, shortness of breath, or fatigue, come out Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to the mosque at 1215 West Glenwood Avenue and get tested.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, right here on Word Radio. You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black Media.
Okay, we are back. I'm just waiting for either one of my guests to call in to talk about Sixers. But you all can jump in if you don't mind. 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. Talking about Sixers, and so we can talk some. We want to throw some Eagles talk in there. You know, Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor are looking good according to everybody in camp. Everybody was expecting that maybe Jalen Hurts could be the number 2 quarterback. Well, already this week, Doug Peterson named Sudfeld as the number 2. But everybody, is recognizing the fact that Jalen Hurts is raising a lot of eyebrows. And his work ethic, he's a smart guy, good throw the ball, can throw the ball well. Even yesterday during his press conference, Nate Sudfeld said that the quarterback room has been impressed with Jalen Hurts. And I think that I wish Jalen Hurts could have gone to a situation where he has a chance to be a starter his first year. But it's good that he's in a situation like this where he can learn. That's a good thing. So we can talk about that. We can talk about, like I said, what should the Sixers moving forward? What should they do? Some people have advocated getting rid of Ben Simmons. I don't know if I agree with that, but if you want to make that case, feel free. 215-634-8065. You want to call in 215-634-8065 to talk about this because in my opinion, I just believe that they have to do something. They really need to add some talent. They really need to add some talent. We got BG from Germantown.
Hey, how you doing, Brother Chris?
Mr. B, I'm doing okay, BG.
That's good. It's funny how, the Jason Tatum draft pick is really coming back to haunt the Sixers. He's been playing out of his mind. And it kind of reminds me when the Sixers could have drafted Paul Pierce, but they didn't. They chose Larry Hughes over him. And, Paul Pierce knocked the Sixers out quite a few times into the playoffs. And they said the reason that Larry Brown didn't draft Paul Pierce is because he didn't think he could play with Allen Iverson. And Paul Pierce said he could play with anybody because he played with Antonio Walker, who's, sometimes his shot selection was pretty ridiculous. They asked Antonio Walker one time, how come you shoot so many threes? Because he said there's not any fours, So, the draft pick to not take Jason Tatum now is really coming back to bite him. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I still remember around draft time, and I would see my good friend Don Hunt at various places, and he knows his basketball. And he kept saying to me, he said, they should have drafted Jason Tatum. I tell you another player they should have kept, and I'd love to see. I wish they would have kept Mikal Bridges, the guy that they drafted. I wish they would have kept. They would have kept Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, who played at Villanova.
Oh, okay. Is he playing? They said he's playing pretty well right now, right? Where's he at, in Denver?
Yeah, he's playing. He's in Phoenix.
Oh, he's in Phoenix.
He is in
okay,
Phoenix.
Phoenix been playing well lately too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, but you're right. A lot of guys. I think for this team, I mean, sometimes you put guys in different teams, but for this team, for this particular team, I really think that I think he would have done well. I mean, right now with Phoenix, I mean, last year, let me think. I'm looking at his overall stats, but I think that he was starting his game was starting to come on a little bit. I think he was starting to, I guess, get more time. But I would have liked to see him in this situation, because sometimes guys go off. Because he was averaging close to 10 points a game this season, and I think he might have been better for this team, for this particular team, in my opinion. I'm not saying he would have been a superstar and all that, but I'm just saying that
what you're saying, he'd have been a good piece.
He would have been a good piece for this team. I mean, sometimes guys go to places, and sometimes they're kept on the bench, or they're playing, and it's like this is why some guys can go other places and succeed if they don't get a chance. And I just wish they would have gotten more. They needed to find more guys who are ready to shoot. I'm tired of sometimes the projects that they have, or guys that they draft who already have all these injuries. So from that standpoint, we are where we are with this team. They're about to be bounced from the playoffs. It could happen in 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, but they're going to be bounced from these playoffs.
To get the brooms out. You know what's funny?
Yeah, you got.
They've had a lot of bad drafting because Okafor didn't pan out, and he's been on a lot of the teams. Norman's the guy Noels, remember him? He was a lottery pick. He didn't pan out. So when they did that thing, the process is okay. You dumped all these games, but the thinking was that you're going to pick lottery picks, but you got to make sure you pick the right lottery pick, because just because a guy's in the lottery don't mean he's going to be an impact player.
Yeah, I get that. So, you never know. You got to find the guys who can be diamonds in the rough. You got to find people like that. So, in any event, BG, thank you for the call, but, you're absolutely right.
All right, you take care.
Good talking. You take care. Thank you. On the line with us, we got my man, John Mitchell. John, brother, I gotta say, y'all were telling me all along, and I was like, well, give the guy a chance, let him do his thing. But I think the patience is one thing with Brett Brown. What have you seen out of these first 3 playoff games, man?
Absolutely nothing, and a team representing the city of Philadelphia that has no fight, that has no leadership, that has no heart, and that will almost assuredly be bounced out of the playoffs, because I think they'll tuck their tails for Game 4, and they should, because you know the history. No team has ever come back from 3-0, and particularly a gutless team, which is what the 7. A gutless team that has talent, but has so many holes at the top.
Right.
From the standpoint, particularly from a coaching standpoint. He coaches a system. Brett Brown coaches a system. And he should be fired on Sunday if they lose. If they fired him now, I wouldn't have a problem with it. He's a nice guy. He makes media people feel good because he talks to them. But let's be quite honest. They have invested hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. and into some other players. I can't, and it's just not working. And he's not. They're not going to get any better with Brett Brown at the helm. That's the first thing you got to do.
I don't see them getting it. I don't see. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was saying I don't see them getting any better. I mean, they're about as good as they're going to get. And when you go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. They have. I mean, I'm as critical of Embiid as anybody. I'm so sick of seeing him posting up, or what he calls posting up 20 feet from the basket, and then having the ball swiped away from him, or him swiped away by guard coming backside, or like the ugly turnover yesterday he did when he threw the ball and was intercepted and then went down and scored. His numbers are like empty calories, and he's talented. Don't get me wrong. And you're trying to figure out now, is it the system that they play, or does he just refuse to get physical and play with force near the basket? I look at Joel Embiid, allow me to make this comparison. And I know the league has changed. It's not the league we grew up watching where you pound the ball down low. It's now a three-point shooting league. And just like the NFL is a passing league, but physically they have an outlier in Joel Embiid. And I'll compare them to the Baltimore Ravens of the NFL. In a passing league, the Ravens know that they have a unique talent that people can't prepare for, and Lamar Jackson. So they can run the ball. They can rush the 3,000 yards and still, at least get a top seed. He hasn't proven anything in the playoffs. But the 76ers are the same way. You have a guy that shoot 80% plus from the free throw line who wants to play outside. He should be an and-one machine in that league. Because somebody knows how to defend the post. And the thing about it is, you don't have the shooters around him right now. So it's kind of hard to play that way. But, I mean, you see the criticism that comes from Charles Barkley and the Shaquille O'Neal of Joel Embiid. A lot of his numbers are what I call empty calorie numbers.
But you know what else I'm not seeing, John? Whenever Embiid gets the ball in a low post, I never see anyone from this team that cuts to the basket.
Right.
Nobody goes to the bed. They stand there. They stand there, and when that ball goes into the post, and you got the double team, somebody's got to be flashing to the hoop. Boom, lay it up. I mean, I don't see that.
You don't see any of that.
They don't move well without the ball.
And that's part of coaching philosophy, I guess, because that's like a natural instinct for guys who've been playing basketball.
Right.
When he draws that double, let me get to space. And Embiid's not a bad passer out of the post. He's not a bad passer out of or close to the post. He's not a bad passer. But again, in this NBA, people talk about Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons can't play together. Ben Simmons is the best defensive player, one of the very best defensive players in the league.
Right.
I'm not one of these people who's getting in line to say break it up. I'm not, because you've had a subpar coach. Just because he has an associationship with Popovich does not mean you're getting Greg Popovich, and Philadelphia fans have seen that over the years. And what has really happened is he was, with all due respect to him, because he's put in a horrible situation, but he signed a contract, so I can't have any sympathy for him. But he was put in a situation where he was told to lose. Sam Hinkie told, that was the directive, to lose, and they lost. But now, when you bring young players into that culture where there is no intentionality to win, what you have is guys who now must learn to win at the next level, who have been taught in the culture to lose. And Brett Brown has been the overseer of that situation. So you have to excise his presence in the Philadelphia 76ers. And it's on Joshua Harris now, because Joshua Harris looks to be, I mean, if you look at Sam Hinkie, nobody's hired Sam Hinkie since he was fired. You know, you had that posse of people who said, who in the NBA has even looked his way? He hasn't gotten a sniff. You know, you found that up with Brian. You found that up with Brian Colangelo, and that debacle.
Colangelo, right?
You found, and then, you know, many of the players haven't worked out, and it's just time to shake things up. You know, it's time to shake things up because the Sixers aren't lacking in talent. They're not necessarily built to be very compatible, but a better coach. Mark Jackson had his team playing better. They're not even playing. There's no effort now. That's the thing that really gets me now. You know, they showed their most.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And they still shot. And I'm sorry. No, they still shot 29.1% from the field, and it's just. I looked at that game. Like I said, I was telling the caller earlier that, you know, John Chaney said that playing defense and not scoring is like working hard all day and not making no money. And the thing with this team, the thing that's frustrating about this team is that even when Ben Simmons is on the floor and healthy, and by the way, we have to axe the Shake Milton experiment. It did not work. You know, it didn't work, and although I would have liked to see them I wonder about Tobias Harris. Isn't Tobias Harris supposed to be the other quote-unquote up-and-coming budding superstar? He is full more disappearing acts than Terry McMillan. I mean,
but let's be honest about Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris didn't just move across the United States, and forget how to play. I mean, Tobias was stroking the three-pointer very well, you know, out west. What is he? I think I saw a statistic somewhere. His three-point shooting has been absolutely horrendous. I think it was 1 for 10. I think he was 1 for 10 last night.
Yeah.
And in the series, he's like 16 for 40-something. You know, we keep looking at the 76ers team, and everybody says, well, they're a dark horse, you know, because they were the team. People didn't play for 5 months because of the pandemic, and people, you know, all of a sudden, this team that was a hodgepodge of nothingness. It was a 6th seed back in March when the league they couldn't win a game on the road, but looked like Superman at home. All of a sudden, you know, people say, what a passage of time. They're going to be a dark horse. But what has changed? Nothing. Brett Brown is still, well, I would like to say in charge, but the players have completely tuned him out. So he's just a placeholder at this point.
And he's,
you know, he's a placeholder at this point.
I would say he is at this point because, you know, but there are a lot of things, you know, I mean, obviously there are some things beyond his control. He can't help if his point guard, you know, Ben Simmons. One, Ben Simmons is hurt, and I'm not going to discount, you know, if you're hurt, you got to rehab, you know, you got to basically, you know, do what you have to do. But, you know, at the same time, and I got to go to break, but I want you to hang around though, John, but the thing is that you got to have guys who can play, man. I mean, you got to have guys, and Ben Simmons has to grow his game.
He does.
I'm sorry, he has to grow his game. I'm tired of people telling me, oh, he's young. Donovan Mitchell is young. Kawhi Leonard is still relatively young, or he's a veteran. But, you know, a lot of guys are relatively young and basically, you know, working on their game. Dame Lillard is another guy that's young. Why can't Ben Simmons, you know, Ben Simmons has to realize when he comes back from injury, you know, you got to play. You got to evolve your game, okay?
No, he does.
Okay, so, yeah, I got to go to break right at this point. But, John, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Bring that thought with when you come back from break. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline,
is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
No fear, just facts. This is WURD, independent black media.
Did you get an eviction notice before the shutdown? Are you looking for a lawyer once the moratorium ends? There's so many questions with so little time. Let Equally Informed Philly find the answers for you. Just text the phrase Equal Info to the number 73224. Again, that's Equal Info, one word, to 73224. Their community information line will get the answers you need to survive in the time of COVID-19. Equally Informed Philly for all Philadelphians.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Well, we have John Mitchell, formerly of the Philadelphia Tribune and longtime NBA writer, longtime guy, knows leagues, covered NBA finals and all that other stuff. John, you were trying to make a point about something, and before we went to break, refresh my memory.
Yeah, no, you were talking about Ben has to bring his game up, and Ben does have to bring his game up. But here's my question to you: Ben's not shooting the ball, and here's what happens every summer. Typically, every summer when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, is that videos come back from Ben's workouts that show him shooting the three ball, shooting jumpers, right? And then when he arrives in Philadelphia to play ball, he doesn't attempt a shot. At some point, the Sixers have to say, "Listen, we've given you $140 million they gave him. It's time for you to start making a shot." Right. They do what they want to do in that organization because they don't take the leadership seriously. They just don't.
I would agree with that.
Right. I mean, it's obvious. Their front office is starting to look like the Washington football team. They're becoming the Washington football teams, minus the sexual improprieties. I would never tie that to them, the Washington football team. But that's what they're starting to look like. It's looking like the Keystone Cops are in charge. I mean, if he was around Ben with some shooters, he needs to shoot the ball more. But if you surround, Josh Richardson was supposed to come and be able to shoot the three ball better. Tobias was supposed to shoot the three ball better. But those players aren't playing well because they don't feel comfortable under the direction of Brett Brown and the direction of the team. And I'm not to keep running my mouth because I like to do that when I'm on your show, Chris. But,
no problem. No.
But I mean, the one telltale sign. People like it was when Jimmy Butler said no to their max deal. Jimmy Butler, they offered him a max deal, and I mean, just think about it. You've just gone to the 7th round. You've just gone to the Eastern Conference Finals, or not the Eastern Conference Finals, but you just lost to Kawhi and them in a Game 7. The eventual NBA champion. Yeah. Now imagine a veteran like Jimmy Butler, who knows his end is not far, looking around, surveying the terrain, and saying, "I'm going to take less money to go play for the Miami Heat." Now people like to say, "Well, it's Miami." No. When you play in the NBA, you are away from home for 9 months out of the year, and if you want to, you make so much money, you can buy real estate anywhere you want to in Miami and live there. But Jimmy Butler did not want to be a part of this, and people just can't ignore that. It's just not run right.
Right. I would say so because there's a part of me, although I think he was friends with MB, but there's a part of me that thinks that he didn't think that those other guys were serious. I don't even think he thinks Embiid is serious. I mean, you got to do more.
You're right.
I mean, I don't think. See that, and that's the thing about. See, this is where there was somebody I think that we both know who kept telling us, well, Ben's young, just be patient, and the media shouldn't be hard. But wait a minute. You're getting paid money to be this guy. You're with this team. I always kept saying last year, this team is Ben Simmons learning how to make regular usage of the jump shot away from being an NBA Finals team. Okay? That's one thing. You can say, we can say that the media is being hard on the kid and all that, and we may be. But you know what? You know what, though?
You are no longer a kid. Go ahead.
Right, you're no longer a kid, and you've got to grow your game. Okay?
Right.
Everybody in the league is athletic. Everybody in the NBA is athletic. Okay? The difference becomes mental. The difference becomes
absolutely.
The difference becomes how much can you learn the game. Kawhi Leonard is a better player. Okay? Kawhi Leonard is a smart and better player than most because of his ability to take his game to another notch.
Mm-hmm.
You see of Dwayne Wade and his wife, getting in shape. We laugh at them, but that's what you have to do. You gotta work on your livelihood. I'll try to write every day just to make sure I can still write. Okay? Just everybody has to do their skill. I don't care what profession you're in. And in basketball, with this team, with all of Ben Simmons' talents, he combines a jump shot with all his talents in the NBA Finals and next year, even with a couple of more players. What did you think of the Shake Milton experiment? Because the Shake Milton experiment, in my opinion, did not work. It did not work this time.
It's like everything that Brett Brown trots out there that doesn't work. He said repeatedly that Ben Simmons was his point guard even before he played a game with the 76ers. And now you're putting the guy who should be a rotational player into the point guard position, and you see the results of the guys. I mean, nothing that Brett Brown really does work. They have been in the lower. They have been in the lower percentile of turnovers. That's the one consistency about him, is that they turn the ball over as well as any team in the league, repeatedly over and over again. And going back to your point that you made about Kawhi, you know what these locker rooms are like. They're full of players. They're full of superstars or great players. Some of them are self-starters and self-motivated. Some of them can turn the silliness thing off and recognize that they are in a business and don't need the prompting to become great. Joel Embiid is not that player. Joel Embiid is simple. He's ridiculously talented, but he's not a self-starter. He's not self-motivated. And at that point, when you have made the investment that the 76ers have made in Joel Embiid and in Ben Simmons, at that point, the organization has to take over. The basketball people have to say, listen, the player personnel people, the player personnel development people have to take over and develop these players and push them and show them what it takes to be great. There is nobody in that organization that can transfer that to them. It's not there. You would like to say all these superstars can do it on their own, but like the saying says, it's easier to fix broken children than it is to repair broken men, I think. And something. And that's how it's kind of with NBA players. When they got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in their infancy as players, they should have been preparing them and repairing them instead of.
I would say the same thing too.
Yep. Even during the culture of losing, they had to do that. They're just not equipped right at the top. And I would like to see. I would like to see Elton Brand get the opportunity. I'm a fan of Elton. I'm probably a little bit biased because I have a relationship with him, but I would like to see him get somewhere without him. But now they're salary cap hell now, so they got to figure out what they got. But it can get better. If you bring Mark Jackson in here, and I promise you, this doesn't look like the sweltering garbage heat that it is now. I promise you that.
You problem. I mean, I can agree with. I mean, Mark Jackson, I think could fix it. I don't know. Maybe what about me? I heard Teron Lewis out there. I don't know who else is out there.
It's another guy covered. I know Teron. Anybody. What you have now is not the person who should be driving this. Who should not be driving this train.
Right. And I hate to say it, Brett Brown cannot drive this train. And you know, I think he's a nice guy. I think he means well. I think he tries to do well. But the thing is, he can't. I mean, look at this team. I mean, game one, you saw these guys were doing. I mean, Jason Tatum demoralized them in game one. I mean, he demoralized them in game two. Game two, they were really demoralized because they started off great at a 14-point lead. All of a sudden, Brad Stevens makes some adjustments. They run a lot of high pick and roll, and next thing you know, the Sixers can't do anything. Joel Embiid's got to play all four quarters, and count them on my finger if you're watching on Facebook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 quarters. Okay, not just he can't be a beast in the first quarter. You need him to be a beast, in the way that Kemba Walker was in the last 2 minutes when he went on a 10-0 run to win the game.
Right. When it was winning time, the Sixers would turn the ball over. They couldn't get a bucket. And I mean, even with Joel Embiid, why is it that with this? I just can't remember the last time I watched NBA basketball. And for the better part of a half a decade, the one thing that was synonymous with a great player was that a potentially great player was that he's not in shape in the playoffs. Every year it's the same thing with Joel Embiid. He doesn't look like he's in shape. And I've talked to people who are very close to this team within the past 24 hours and say, and we can see it. We can see it. I mean, they're asking a lot of the big man right now, but he's not. We should not be talking about his conditioning. When we stop talking about him playing back-to-backs and all that stuff, that's going out the window now. He's trying to earn his money as a man in the league, and is it asking too much for him to be in shape to collect his money?
No, I mean, no, it's not asking too much. I mean, he should be with his size, his strength. I've seen too many times where he has faded back. Take that ball to the rack and make them know that you're there. My name is Slam. My name is Joel. Or maneuver them off of him and have an easy lane to the basket. That's the thing that bothers me about this guy. And by the fourth quarter, he's not demanding the ball. He's taking jump shots. Please get him off the three-point range. Excuse me. I mean, please get this guy. Stop standing behind the arc when you're 7'3" and close to 300 pounds, where you can just bully your way in. Do what Shaq does. Shaq did develop a little bit of a jumper over the years, but Shaq basically said, you know what, this is my lane. I don't care if you stand there or not. If I have to knock you down, go through you, I'm getting to the lane, and he'll get more of those fouls coming his way, but he doesn't. The guy, but the guy, where is this guy's head? I think. It's not ability. It's not his. It's just between his ears. He's got to use the muscles between his ears to start playing the game. I mean, am I right? I mean, he's got to use that. John, are we still with us? Uh-oh. Are you still with us, John? Okay, I guess we lost John. But y'all know what I'm saying, right? I mean, this guy's got to play. He's got to be a better player than what he is. He just has to be. I mean, he just has to be. He's got to dominate. But at the same time, other guys got to step into. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. Thank you to Little Richard Brown for being a guest. Thank you, everybody who called in. Thank you to John Mitchell. And my good friend Ashley did not call into us today, but we'll get her next time. And so, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your weekend. You're listening to the Chris Murray Report on WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Black Talk Media. We will be back next week. Take care.